Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you love deep, carefully told stories from the world of Turkish entertainment, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next breakdown. Today we're tracing a timeline that fans have debated for years, the evolving bond between Çağatay Ulusoy and Hazal Kaya. From early set tension to unshakable professional respect, from whispered rumors to lessons in media literacy, this is the story of how two young performers grew up on camera, and how the public learned to read between the lines, sometimes a little too eagerly. Let's roll the clock back to the beginning. When Çağatay Ulusoy and Hazal Kaya first found themselves sharing a set, the chemistry was undeniable, but so was the learning curve. Hazal arrived with experience, precision, and a reputation for anchoring scenes with quiet control. Çağatay, still early in his ascent, brought raw energy and a willingness to push. That combination often produces magic on screen, and friction behind it. People who've spent time on sets will tell you that creative tension is not a scandal, it's a stage of growth. The work demands timing, the timing demands trust, and trust takes longer to build than a lighting setup. In those early days, small differences looked big. Hazal preferred breaking a scene into beats and polishing transitions. Çağatay liked to keep momentum high and let emotion lead. Both approaches can be right. Both can also clash. Fan accounts from that period compiled moments that felt sharp, a retake that ran long, a closed-door note session, a day when the atmosphere felt thick. The headlines later reduced this to one word, fights, but the truth is more ordinary and more interesting. Two young artists were learning each other's rhythm. They did what pros do, they adjusted, they learned, they returned the next day and tried again. What bridged those differences was something the audience rarely sees: quiet acts of respect. One story that circulates among longtime viewers points to a day when another actor allegedly let a rude comment slip in Hazal's direction. The public version is blunt: Çağatay stepped in, voices rose, and the moment ended with boundaries made clear. Whether or not every retelling is perfectly accurate, the scene rings true because it aligns with what we've seen for years: a protective instinct paired with a refusal to let disrespect calcify. That's how professional friendship starts to harden into trust. You don't need a press release to say, "I've got your back." You show it when it costs you something. As the seasons turned, the narrative around them evolved. They were no longer new. They were the names you put on a poster because audiences showed up when they were there. With that status came a familiar side effect: the temptation to read on-screen connection as a blueprint for off-screen life. Enter the rumor that refuses to die, the idea that Hazal Kaya carried a secret, unspoken, or platonic love for Çağatay Ulusoy during those early years. Let's handle this carefully. The rumor exists. Fans repeat it, blogs recycle it, and comment sections treat it like a choose-your-own-adventure. But rumors are not records. In the absence of first-person confirmation, everything else is speculation. We can acknowledge the narrative without mistaking it for fact. Why do stories like that stick? Partly because the characters they played made yearning feel real, and viewers confuse resonance with revelation. Partly because fans want the universe to keep the lawn between fiction and reality neatly trimmed. And partly because the industry is a factory of near misses and almost confessions: a shared look in a behind-the-scenes clip, a compliment in an interview, a laugh that lingers too long. A healthy viewing posture is to enjoy what the work evokes and leave real lives to the people living them. That posture is hard, but it's also the one that keeps admiration from turning into entitlement. The mid-period of their careers was defined by momentum. Hazal took on roles that foreground intelligence over spectacle, earning a reputation for specificity. Çağatay added layers to his public image: discipline, range, and a steadier command in dramatic frames. Their names continued to cross paths in fan edits and wish lists: reunite them here, cast them there, let them hold a scene with nothing but silence. Even when their actual schedules diverged, the audience's imagination insisted on a through line. That insistence built pressure under the surface, turning every coincidence into a clue. Then came a new chapter of internet chatter, framed around a personal milestone in Çağatay Ulusoy's life. talk of a future wedding, or depending on which post you read, the implication that a ceremony had been planned behind closed doors. In that swirl, a claim popped up that Hazal Kaya would not attend, and that the choice, if true, was born of jealousy. This is the point where responsible coverage takes a breath. We can talk about what fans are saying without endorsing the causality those fans project. Absence, where it exists, can mean 100 things: private schedules, health considerations, the desire to keep the spotlight where it belongs, or simple respect for boundaries. To leap from rumor to motive is not just sloppy, it is unfair to everyone involved. What we can map with confidence is the pattern that's repeated across their careers. Whenever speculation flares, both performers steer back to the work. They answer questions with courtesy, not with confessions. They keep their public feeds about projects, colleagues, causes, and the occasional day-in-the-life snapshot that reveals nothing a reasonable person would demand to know. When the conversation tries to push their professional bond into a soap opera, they gently refuse the script and return to the one they can control. That refusal requires discipline. It is also a mark of respect, for themselves, for each other, and for the audience that came for the stories and stayed. None of this eliminates the tug audiences feel. People want narrative closure. They want the camera to pan back and reveal the truth. But an adult friendship, especially one forged under studio lights, rarely obeys the grammar of television. It deepens in mundane ways: a text that arrives before a premiere, a recommendation for a script doctor, a quick read of a difficult scene, an introduction to a cinematographer whose eye might be right for the next project. Those gestures don't trend. They build a career's scaffolding. They also don't owe anyone a caption. Let's make space for the unglamorous reality of set life in their early years, because it helps explain the arc call times before dawn. Dialogue that must land in a crowded hallway while a generator hums like thunder. A third take where the scene finally breathes and the director says, "One more," because insurance likes options. In those conditions, small frustrations inflate. If a rumor says they argued, it's not hard to imagine moments when they did. If later posts say they laughed about it, that's not hard to believe either. The artistry audiences love is the residue of craft, and craft is built inside days that are too long, too loud, and too public to keep entirely tidy. Consider also the way support shows up when the headlines fade. The industry runs on networks of care. Actors finding each other, voice coaches who treat technique like a living muscle, costumers who help locate a character by tweaking the stitch on a collar, makeup artists who know what exhaustion looks like on a face and how to work around it. In that network, someone like Hazal can send a message the night before a table read, "Try this pacing," and someone like Çağatay can reply with a voice note that lands like a steadying hand. Those are the exchanges that keep people whole. They don't feed the rumor mill. They keep it from grinding people down. So where does this leave the three names that often appear in the same sentence, Çağatay Ulusoy, Hazal Kaya, and, in background comparisons, Kıvanç Tatlıtuğ? In a better place than headlines suggest. Kıvanç represents a measure of experience against which many younger actors have been compared. It is neither insult nor worship to say that working opposite him early in a career teaches timing the way nothing else can. Hazal's history of holding her own in those pairings is a credential, not a flashpoint. Çağatay's trajectory from raw charisma to calibrated presence is not a mystery, it's the product of work. And the ongoing regard between Hazal and Çağatay, visible in offhand praise during press and in the quiet refusal to let gossip write their friendship, speaks louder than any anonymous comment thread ever could. If you're here for an answer key, did Hazal love Çağatay in secret, did they fight, will she attend a wedding? The only honest response is that the people whose names headline this video have never turned their private lives into a public assignment. We can acknowledge the speculation, chart how it grows, and point to the craft that keeps them centered. We can't, and shouldn't, declare verdicts about hearts we don't own. What we can do is pay attention to what they've shown us consistently. Generosity toward colleagues, seriousness about the work, and a preference for dignity over performance when the conversation tilts toward gossip. Here's what I think is worth celebrating, no matter where you stand in the rumor cycle. Two actors met early, learned hard lessons in the open, and found a way to carry mutual regard through a season of scrutiny that would have swallowed lesser partnerships whole. They have both become the kind of performers whose names signal quality before a scene even starts. And the friendship, whatever label the public wishes it had, endures not because it was easy but because it was tended. That's not a twist. It's maturity. Now it's your turn. What do you remember most vividly from their early collaborations? Which scene made you think, this is going to last? Do you prefer them reunited in a grounded drama with long, quiet takes, or in a sharp, witty series that lets them trade lines like fencers? And when you see a rumor, what convinces you to save it, share it, or let it pass? Leave your thoughts in the comments. The smartest conversations on this channel come from viewers who love the work and respect the people. If you enjoyed this deep dive, subscribe to Turkish Spotlight Secrets, hit like, and consider joining for members-only breakdowns where we map timelines responsibly and talk to the craftspeople who keep sets running. We'll keep following the stories that matter, and we'll keep drawing the line between what's public, what's private, and what's simply none of our business. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.